Hi, Cynthia. Appreciate you being with us. So why don't you tell the listeners a bit more about why you brought the lawsuit and what you'd like to see happen?
Well, unfortunately, a lawsuit is the only way to challenge a ballot. I wish that there was a friendlier way to do it, but that's the mechanism that's been given to us. I've been involved in Anaheim politics for about a dozen years. Political blogger on the side. It's not something I earn money at. I'm not making a buck on it. And as I was doing a recap of the candidates in Anaheim, something about what he was saying just didn't pass the sniff test for me. And when I started to look into it, I realized I really needed to challenge this.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a bunch of other people on the ballot in addition to this guy. Have you known Stephen Chavez Lodge in past? Have you bumped into him in local politics there? So how did this come on your radar screen for you to alert you that something was different in the way he was portraying himself?
Actually, the reason I realized he was different was because I hadn't come across him. Anaheim politically is a small town. You run into the same 100 people that are at everything. And he just moved to the city. Not a lot of people have much knowledge about him. So the only thing that I had to work from were his public records. How does he describe himself in these public records? Everywhere that I looked was Stephen Lodge, Steve Lodge, Steve Lodge. He's registered to vote as Steve Lodge. He bought property as Steve Lodge. And then all of a sudden, Chavez pops up, and I had to wonder, where did that come from?
Now, he claims that he was actually born Stephen Albert Chavez. Are there any records that indicate that actually is the case? And by the way, we did invite him on the show, so, just want to put that out there.
Okay. He was. Apparently, the birth certificate that he's waving at all of his fundraisers shows him as Stephen Albert Chavez. He had his name legally changed to Stephen Albert Lodge. He's used Lodge for decades. I found records going at least as far back as high school, where legally his name is Stephen Albert Lodge, and I can't find any record of him picking up Chavez again as his legal name to be able to use it. His entire career has been Stephen Lodge from everything that I've found. Married as Stephen Lodge, bought property as Stephen Lodge, and now wants to go back and pick up Chavez.
Now, let me put my tongue firmly in my cheek and ask you, why do you think he may be doing this?
I don't know the man. I don't want to speak to his motives, and I'd like to believe that people are basically good and decent, even in politics. I know that's a joke, but there is one other factor in here beyond the race baiting that I know all of the media is jumping on. The Secretary of State has a lottery system where they give an alphabetical order every year, and this year C comes to the top of the ballot. He would actually be the first person on the ballot if he uses Chavez. Uh-huh. And we know that there's an edge of several points there for the eeny, meeny, miny, mo voters that just go in and mark a number. And so that puts him at the top of the ballot if he's able to use Chavez.
Now, I understand you're also challenging the way he identifies himself on the ballot as a police officer. You're saying a retired police officer. You're saying that was not his primary occupation in years past, or?
Oh, it was in years past. Certainly, there's all kinds of records that he worked for the Santa Ana Police Department. Okay. But the state law, again, is really clear. You have to meet certain criteria, and some of those are you need to be 55 years old. Your pension needs to be your primary income. The birth certificate he's waving at his fundraiser shows he is not 55 years old, and he is employed by Hill International Company, where I assume he makes a lot more than his government pension. So that doesn't seem to fit.
Now, I understand it got a little bit nasty out there. His brother, Roger Lodge, who most people know from, his TV occupations, actually referred to you as a housewife. And I understand that was a little insulting. What was your response to that designation?
I haven't heard Roger say anything, but Steve sent out an email blast yesterday to his supporters, and it was forwarded to me by a number of people who will no longer be his supporters. And he labeled me as, quote, housewife and mother, questioning how a housewife and mother could access the legal system or participate in the political system on this level.
Wow.
Yeah, unfortunately he's chosen to go negative, and that's the sad thing. This isn't personal. It's not about me.
But I guess my question is, since when could, and not, Housewives is an honorable thing to do, but why would a housewife not have access to blah, 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 blah? That's a little interesting.
I think he's trying to make the case that perhaps I'm being paid to do this.
Okay, I get it.
And, it's politics 101. Joe, if you can't make your argument based on your standing, you make it all about your opponent. And unfortunately, that appears to be what he's doing here.
Cynthia, what I don't know if there's any local polling's been done, but was he considered a leading candidate? Was there a high likelihood he'd win? I mean, what was his stature in this race? Was he just one of the people running, or was he expected to be someone that might actually win the seat?
I haven't seen any sort of polling, but he is backed by the former mayor and several of our sitting council members. And if you've seen the news, you know that Anaheim is really in a contentious place right now, and we've got a council that's completely at war with its own mayor. And so he is being backed by a certain segment of the political inside group here in Anaheim, and yeah, they've been raising quite a bit of money for him. It's a lot of out-of-town money, so it's hysterical that this morning he posted something to Facebook about me using an out-of-town lawyer, and all of his money is from out of town, so I found that a little ironic.
Yeah. Now, you've been quoted saying, this isn't about race, I don't want anything, I guess it should be anybody to think it has ever been. I'm just looking for accuracy. So you're saying my whole role in this by filing this lawsuit isn't about race. It's about accuracy on the ballot. Am I interpreting this correctly?
Yes. Keep in mind, a lot of these voters, the only contact that they are going to have with a candidate beyond maybe a few pieces of mail is that voter's pamphlet that the government sends out, and they read through that. That's their only contact, and we really count on that to be unbiased and accurate, to truthfully reflect a candidate or a proposition without bias. So we need to make sure that is going to be truthful and accurate. And as far as him trying to make it about race, honestly, I got an email today from somebody I flat out opposed in 2010, who's a Latino candidate who was offering me support. He said that I'm one of the least racist people he's ever known, and so for Lodge to say that this is about race is just silly.
Well, I certainly understand that. I guess the problem in this issue as it moves forward is that others have made sort of political situation in Anaheim kind of racial or ethnic, at least, because of the riots, because of the police shootings, and because of the demands from activists that there be more Latinos on the city council. So it's kind of polarized the atmosphere, and I can understand why some people then will look at if in fact it's shown that he has used this name in a way that's perhaps inappropriate. Some would say, well, it was done because he was pandering to Latino votes or Latino voters in Anaheim. So I think it's kind of out there, but I think it's admirable that you're trying to say, listen, you got to hear what I'm saying as opposed to what may be in the atmosphere there.
And the irony is that, yes, the ACLU has filed this lawsuit against Anaheim. The people who are opposing creating those districts that the ACLU demanded are the same people that are backing Steve Lodge.
Very interesting.
So there's some irony there, but
okay.
It's about the law. It's about, going to somebody who knows more about the law than we do and letting them make a decision, and that's done in court. Exactly.
Well, Cynthia, we're up against a break here. So, again, I appreciate you coming on, explaining what you're doing and why you're doing it, and we'll keep our eye on this as it develops.
Well, thank you very much for covering Anaheim.
Okay, appreciate it. That was Cynthia.